177. He can translate to 154. He's fighting a guy that's been at 154 for his entire career. So we talk about that big career.
Yeah, that's going to be an exciting factor. Today's time.
It was real fight week drama. Two fighters face to face, no smiles, just cold eyes. Andes tried to show power, but Lima stayed calm, quiet, and confident, like saying, "See you on Saturday." The crowd felt the tension. Some thought Andes looked ready. Others felt Lima's silence was more dangerous. Both refused to look away, and every second made the room heavier. Andes didn't scare Lima. He only woke up a real challenge. Lima looked focused and serious, not distracted by noise or talk. He simply said, "I will win," not to show off, but with full belief. Lima trusts his training and discipline. He plans to control the distance, set the pace, and use small openings to take control. He doesn't fight with emotion, only with focus and timing. Now the talking is over. Lima says the work is done. No excuses, no shortcuts. He's ready to prove himself on Saturday, calm but dangerous.
All my life we trained for this moment, this event, and yeah, we put the camp of life for this fight. I'm the best chef of my life. I'm ready for this fight.
Lima relies on his preparation like armor, trusting solid basics instead of noise or hype. He wants a fast pace and simple choices, forcing Boots to fight his way. He says his conditioning is a weapon, built to keep steady pressure, especially in the late rounds. His plan is to make the ring feel small, closing the distance until comfort turns into mistakes. If he finds his rhythm early, control slowly moves to his side. And if he keeps that control, momentum starts to build, and when momentum builds, Lima believes the later rounds will go his way. That's the plan he's bringing to Philadelphia. Uisma Lima talks about his tools calmly, timing, awareness, and the strength to make every punch count. He believes he can mix smart boxing with power and win by making the right choices round after round.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't fight. I have everything. I have ring IQ, I have footwork, I have strong, I'm fast, and I'm in the best shape of my life, so I can do everything.
Lima plans to read his opponent's feet before the hands, stealing the first move in every exchange. He wants to break patterns, change speed, and turn sharp counters into full control. His strong conditioning lets him raise the pace anytime he sees doubt in Boots. He trusts his positioning for defense and his angles for attack. If that balance works, he can slow the fight down for Boots while staying fast himself. When the fight runs on his terms, mistakes start to pile up. And when mistakes pile up, those small openings turn into clear chances. That's where Lima expects to take over on fight night. Uisma Lima keeps power simple. No talk, no gambling, just confidence in what his punches can do at this weight. His focus stays in the ring, not on the noise outside.
You come in aggressive, you believe you have the power at 154 to knock this guy out?
For sure.
You don't believe me, so you all talk.
I can't bet that. I don't love your money.
Lima wants to prove his power through precision, not wasted shots. He plans to earn respect early, then use that threat to open up the rest of his game. Every time Boots tries to close the distance, Lima wants to make him pay for it. If his first clean punches land, the space will start to work in his favor. Once that happens, Lima can control the pace and timing of the fight. When he's in control, every exchange becomes a planned step toward the finish. And when those steps add up, the ending won't feel sudden, it will feel like part of the plan. That's the energy Lima brings into Saturday. On the other side, Jaron Boots Andy stays calm but confident, saying, "Confidence is fine, it's just not enough." He promises to make the moment sharp and decisive.
I'm ready. I'm confident. I like it. I like your confidence. They talking too much, you know. He gonna get that. He gonna look. He looking for it. It's gonna be a really night. I'm gonna have some fun, and we're gonna show up. You know, I'm not playing. I'm not here to play games.
That's the difference between this kind of fight. You know he's going to be right there for you.
For sure. I know what he's gonna take table. And like I said, wherever you bring, I'm gonna be ready. And It's that time.
He treats this like business, not talk, and says he knows exactly what to expect. He believes he'll find openings early and plans to enjoy closing the show. For him, preparation and speed will make the difference. Andes thinks Lima will stand right in front of him, exactly where he does his best work. He says no matter who's across from him, he's ready. He makes it clear that this fight ends on his schedule. He hints at sharp counters when Lima moves in and plans to use quick touches to set early traps. By the time Lima tries to adjust, Andes says it'll be too late. He gives respect but draws a firm line about levels, saying skill, power, and experience will separate him when it matters most.
For sure, he's definitely a good fighter for sure. You know, I watch him. I like what I see. He's a good fighter. But that's levels though. Like if you fighting those guys over here, they don't got my skill, they got my power, my ability. I'm on a whole different level. When he actually get in there with me on Saturday night, he gonna be like, yo, he a lot faster what I thought, a lot stronger than what I thought, a lot slicker. It's levels. Yeah, he know that. You know, he know that. But we gonna say.
He's studied the tape and says the real shock will come once the bell rings. He talks about strength you can feel and angles you won't see. He believes his timing will make a good fighter look ordinary, with reactions coming a step late and punches landing a beat early. He warns that real speed only shows up on fight night. He calls it a different level and says everyone will see it. His plan is to read Lima's moves, find the gaps, and land punches he won't expect. For Ennis, Saturday isn't about debate, it's about proof. He invites the crowd to witness a finish, treating it like a promise he's ready to deliver. He speaks with the confidence of a closer. Make sure you'll come out Saturday night. Don't miss this knockout. His message is clear, be in your seat, or you might miss it. He trusts his power and accuracy. He expects pressure to force mistakes and open the door for one clean shot to change everything. He says the energy in the arena will tell you when it's coming. For Ennis, the knockout isn't just possible, it's expected. He plans to set it up with jabs and feints, aiming for a clean finish, not a wild one. He says the replay will explain it all. In his mind, the fight will go the way he chooses, calm, controlled, and decisive.
Win this fight inside the distance.
I win this fight however I want to do it. I'm not here to play. I'm not here to play. I'm coming.
He plans to control the pace, distance, and rhythm right from the start. Adaptability is his biggest weapon. His goal is to take away Lima's comfort, then take away his options. For him, this is about execution, not emotion. He expects the ring to feel smaller with every round and makes it clear he's coming to decide how this fight ends. If plan A doesn't work, plan B comes fast. If the exchanges get messy, he'll reset and pull Lima back into his range. One way or another, he says the finish will be on his terms. Bosi steps in with the calm of a coach and the focus of a father, setting the standard for what good really means. He points to real challenges and real levels, calling this matchup a true test, a measuring stick for both fighters.
I mean, if he's good as they say he is, you'll see him go to another level. He's already good at saying he played the same. So if he's good as he say he is, he won't get what he's looking for.
From his corner's view, this isn't trash talk, it's a push to reach a higher level. He sees Saturday as a test of truth. If the skills are real, they'll hold up when the pace gets tough. He suggests that Boots can control the fight, speed it up or slow it down, and still stay comfortable. He expects early reads to open chances the other side won't notice. He believes pressure will turn confidence into choices, and choices into mistakes. When those openings appear, he says class takes over, and once class takes over, momentum doesn't return. Tim Bradley describes Lima as a true road warrior, shaped by hard beginnings and driven by hunger for something greater. He sees this matchup as more than just records, it's grit versus greatness.
Lima, look, this is the thing with Lima, man. He's born in Angola. You can research where the hell that is. You know, my geographic sense is terrible. I think he moved. I think I read he moved to Portugal when he was 8 years old. Picked up boxing at 18. You know, just wanted to get his family up out of the hood, right? You know, bring them a better life. You know, that's typically a lot of times those fighters. You know, we come from humble beginnings, and You know, we looking for a fighting chance to make our life better. You know, we not the bookworms of the world, and you know, we ain't trying to go down that road. One thing we can do, we can fight. We got heart, we got balls, and look, Lima got balls. Oh yeah, he do. And he willing to travel from forever. This ain't new to him. Traveling and fighting and beating undefeated guys in their countries. That's what he do. He does whatever needs to be done.
Bradley's point is that Lima's story explains why he performs so well under pressure. He's used to traveling, facing hostile crowds, and accepting tough fights without hesitation. That mindset can help him steal early rounds if Boots starts slow, but heart alone won't be enough if his timing or defense slips. Bradley warns that Lima is dangerous because he never stops trying until something lands. He calls him the kind of fighter who can turn an opponent's comfort into risk. The more chaotic the fight becomes, the more Lima believes in himself. And if the crowd starts to feel that upset energy, it could fuel a wild first half. Bradley breaks down Lima's skill set calmly, aggressive, tricky from awkward angles, and dangerous during exchanges. But he also points out Lima's late start and thinner resume compared to a natural talent like Boots.
So, you know, his fighting style is more so aggressive. You know, he can box a little bit. He can fight from any position. You know, I think that's the cleverness about him. You know, it doesn't matter what position he's standing. You know, he's able to throw and land some effective punches. You know, but he doesn't have a whole lot of experience. You know, he's 32 years old, but he's a young 32. So what I mean by that is that he started boxing late. He's not one of those ones that did it from the crib, you know, like a Boots Ennis that started real young, probably at like 4 or 5 years old, you know, and has been training ever since. You know, this is a guy that started at 18. Not sure what he done in his, you know, in his teen years or whatever sport. He maybe played soccer, or I'm not sure what he's done, but you know, as far as boxing sense goes, you know, the man has his shoot. It's 32, you know, it's been 14 years in the game of doing boxing. You know, he had some amateur fights, you know, which is good. You know, I think it was like 40 some odd amateur fights. I think he's only lost 3, you know, in his country.
Bradley says Lima can create punches from awkward angles, the kind that can surprise a technical fighter. But years of experience still matter when the speed and timing start to rise. Boots has lived in the ring since childhood, developing instincts that can't be learned overnight. That experience usually shows when the exchanges get complex and the counters come in layers. If Lima overcommits, Bradley says, Boots can punish him on the way out, not just on the way in. He frames the matchup as creativity versus pure schooling. Feints, he warns, will test Lima's patience, and if that patience breaks, the openings will grow. Bradley cautions not to underestimate Lima but still expects Boots to perform at his best in the new weight class. He believes moving up allows Boots to keep his full strength without draining himself.
I mean, look, even with that being said, I mean, this dude, you can't sleep on this guy. This is what happens, man. When you're fighting jabronis sometimes, you gotta take them serious. You gotta take them like they a real hard threat. They trying to knock you up off your pedestal. So, and I know Boots always come prepared, always come ready. You know, for me, my expectation for Boots is him to look good. You know, he gonna look good. You know, he got that added weight. You know, he ain't have to squeeze his body down and take from himself. You know what I mean? I know he blows up in between fights. I see him, you know, he be having no chubby cheeks. You know, chubby cheeks, not the other way around. I see some of y'all be kind of clown out there, man. But anyways, so I think he still has to, you know, squeeze down and make 54, but he gonna take a little bit less from himself. So I'm expecting him to be stronger, bigger, stronger, faster, you know, and I'm expecting a freaky version of Boots in it.
Bradley expects sharper reactions and better stamina from Boots, the kind that can turn small openings into quick momentum. The danger, he says, is getting too comfortable against an opponent who's always alive in the fight. He explains that the best version of Boots shows up when he's not drained from cutting too much weight. If that version appears on Saturday, the gap between them could grow quickly. Bradley calls it a potential showcase, as long as Boots stays disciplined. Discipline, he adds, is what turns power into precision, and precision is what ends fights early. Bradley also breaks down why this matchup could be full of action. Lima likes to brawl, punch between shots, and attack the body from southpaw angles. But Bradley points out the key advantage. Boots' superior speed and athleticism.
You know, he's going to have a lot of opportunities to land because Lima, he likes to rumble. You know, Lima likes to rumble, man. You know, he comes and he likes to bring the pain. Very active on that front foot, you know. He likes to punch in between shots as well. He likes to punch after you punch, you know. He's a bit of a clever fighter, I would say, you know, with his setups and stuff, you know, of course, coming in off his jab, you know, when he's in the southpaw stance, you know, he goes down to the body well, puts combinations together well, you know, but he's not the better athlete in this fight at all, by any means, not even close. He doesn't have the hand speed, and that's what's going to kill him, man. You know, if you ain't got the foot speed, be able to get away, man, or either the defense, the head movement, because he leave that head straight down the middle.
If Lima keeps his head on the center line, Bradley warns, Boots' fast hands will find it. Boots can strike first, last, and safest, as long as his footwork leads the way. Lima's pressure can be loud, but speed and angles can quiet it quickly. Bradley sees counterpunches waiting whenever Lima reaches in. He believes Boots' jab and feints will set early traps. The big question is whether Lima can adjust before the damage adds up. If he can't, the pace could become one-sided by the middle rounds. If he can, expect tense exchanges and big momentum swings. Bradley predicts Boots will welcome the pressure and turn it to his advantage. He calls the matchup ideal for Boots' strengths, speed, angles, and sharp counters.
He gonna get ate up, man. Boots gonna eat him up. And you know Boots like guys that come to him. So, you know, Lima got a lot to fight for, got a lot to gain from this. Boots got a lot to lose from this. He gonna come and he gonna bring it. But I expect Boots to look, again, spectacular, using that speed, those angles, you know, inviting this guy in. You know, I'm expecting Boots to have better defense. And see, look, the reason why Boots is okay with getting comfortable and getting hit a little bit is because that Philly in him, man. You can't bring that Philly, you can't take the Philly out of him.
Bradley notes that Lima's motivation is massive, and that makes the risk for Boots very real. That mix, he says, could make the early rounds wild and unpredictable. Still, he expects the better athlete to pull away as the reads start adding up. Bradley emphasizes that Boots needs to stay defensively sharp, even while attacking. He connects that balance to the Philadelphia mindset. Brave, but smarter when disciplined. In his view, a focused Boots makes the ending feel inevitable. If that sharpness shows, the finish won't look chaotic, it'll look clear, one fighter fully in control while the other runs out of answers. But not everyone agrees this is the right fight. Pauli Malignaggi questions whether staying at this level could dull a top-tier fighter's edge. He warns that facing lesser competition too often might make a great talent start to look ordinary.
I'm not sure, because I think when you constantly fight this level of opposition, your own level starts to naturally diminish, and that's the risk too. You know, we've seen Boots has the potential to be very explosive, be at a very high level, but sometimes you can cause fighters to stagnate by never giving them that opportunity, by sort of keeping them hovering around a certain level, and sometimes by their choice or by the choices of the upper fighters, these up and coming fighters can stagnate. We've seen that in the past, and I wonder if Ennis is going to be at risk of this happening to him again. You know, I especially in a 154-pound division where there is a lot of big names, a lot of good fighters. I wouldn't say big names. There's a lot of very good fighters. This could be a conscious choice by Team Ennis. Could be, just a choice by, the promoter saying, okay, let's get you, sort of with your feet wet into the 154-pound division.
He describes the matchup as a careful step into a new weight division, but warns that too much caution can become comfort. He points out that careers can stall when fighters never test their limits. The 154-pound division, he says, is deep enough to demand real challenges, not tune-ups. He adds that momentum only matters when it's moving upward, not spinning in circles. Real growth, he insists, requires risk. Otherwise, the sharp timing that once stood out can start to fade. For him, Saturday will reveal whether this is a true launch or just another loop. Malignaggi doubles down, saying the getting your feet wet stage has lasted too long, and now the water's already up to the knees. He argues it's time to dive into the deep end and chase the elite.
The only issue with Ennis I have is that he's been getting his feet wet for a while already. Like his feet are wet. You know, he's
up to water in his knees.
Yeah,
right?
jump in the deep end already.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I know at 47 he wasn't getting these opportunities, and I felt for him, and I think we all felt for him. But you know, now it's getting to the point where you're starting to wonder if there's a little bit of Gervonta Davis syndrome here. Like, do you want to step up, or is this the game you want to play? And if this is the game you want to play, then obviously somebody like me is going to call you out on it, and we'll see. Because at 154, you know, the problem he had at 147 was sort of like the Benavidez and Canelo situation, where Canelo was so big that he could afford to push him off, right? Not that I condoned it, but that boxing condoned it. At 147, it was the same issue where there was names like Crawford, Spence. They had already established themselves, the Porters of the world, and all those names of the world. They had established themselves, and it's like almost like, we're too big for you.
He points out that, in the lower weight classes, top names could sometimes avoid fights, fairly or not, but says that logic doesn't work here. He draws a clear line between patience and stalling and believes the clock is already ticking. He challenges Boots' team to choose bold over safe if the goal is true greatness. He emphasizes that respect in this new division won't be handed out, it has to be earned. Fans, he warns, can tell when matchmaking protects a fighter instead of proving one. In his view, this is a moment that demands a statement, not a shrug. Malignaggi adds that while the division may have fewer big stars, it's filled with real challenges. So the old excuses don't apply. If the path stays soft, he says, what was once a reason becomes an excuse.
Condoned, even though I personally don't condone that kind of stuff. But at 154, it's not like that. Like at 154, like I said, there's really good fighters. There's not big names, so you can get. As a matter of fact, Ennis is probably one of the bigger names at 154 in a weight class where there's a lot of tough fights. So now
that excuse goes away.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it excuse yet. We'll see. We'll see. We're getting close to that excuse. Right now, we'll call it a reason. But if we keep seeing it, it becomes an excuse.
He argues that the lack of big-name opponents can actually help a rising contender take center stage. The choices made now, he says, will reveal ambition more than any words can. The talent is already there. What's needed is opposition that matches it. He calls for fights that test skill, not just pad winning streaks. The audience, he believes, is ready to believe in the journey, but only if real risk is involved. For him, the pressure is simple: step up, or watch the belief fade. Robert Garcia shifts the focus to that very pressure, saying the real danger isn't always the opponent, it's the expectations that come with an easy fight. He warns that the unknown can strike back hard when the favorite lets his guard down.
Well, look, he's got all that pressure on him because he has to display it this weekend. Look, an opponent that hardly anybody knows who he is. You know, very few people have even watched videos of him. You know, since we heard who Bush was fighting, nobody had an idea of who this guy was. So it is a little risky for Boots to take a challenge like this, thinking with Matchroom and the management team, thinking, we got to get him something a little bit soft before he steps in with the big dogs at 154. But it could be as dangerous because nobody knows this guy, and we've seen Boots already perform at 147 when the name is not that big, when the opponent is not a big threat. He doesn't perform very well. So we got to see. Hopefully he does, because he is talent-wise one of the best in the division.
He describes this as a classic trap fight, the kind where limited scouting and a low-profile opponent can tempt a star into relaxing. When the spotlight fades, he warns, sharpness can slip, and that's when awkward punches land. The solution is simple, but demanding: start fast, stay tight on defense, and avoid lazy exits. He expects the crowd's demand for a statement to raise the pressure on every exchange. If Boots locks in, the talent gap should show quickly. But if he coasts, the danger will grow with every quiet minute. Fight Week gave us two clear stories. Uisma Lima is calm, confident, and ready to push the pace early. Jaron Ennis and his corner keep talking about levels, timing, and control, while analysts remain split on whether this fight is a showcase or a trap. At 154, there's no room for excuses. If Ennis stays sharp, his speed and angle should take over. But if he drifts, Lima's pressure could turn this into a real fight fast. So what do you think? Can Lima's pressure break the rhythm before Ennis settles in? Which matters more here, Boots' speed or Lima's engine? At 154, does Ennis need a statement or just a win? And if this turns rough, who adjusts first? Drop your take in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more fight breakdowns like this.